In this week's drive, we get to grips with a key to Formula One success, take one desperate gamble too many, do some destructive synchronized spinning, and see a first-time winner grab the glory. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with a look at what keeps Formula One safe when things go wrong out on the track. To win, drivers need to take calculated risks, and knowing that the car they're driving is as safe as possible adds to their peace of mind. Just like in road cars, crash tests are compulsory for racing car manufacturers. The monocoque, or tub where the driver sits, must stay intact when struck from any angle. In the last 10 years, great strides have been made within the competitive requirements of weight and aerodynamics.
Basically, a lot has been done in recent years. The safety tests have become a lot stricter, which of course benefits us all. A lot of the crashes we've seen would still have been fatal a few years ago. But due to this work, they're virtually no problem anymore. One day we'll probably reach a limit where the car can withstand everything, but not the driver inside.
That's because the deceleration forces in a high-speed crash can be enormous, from over 300 kilometers an hour to a sudden stop in just a few meters. In a test lab, engineers simulate head-on crashes on new designs at just 50 kilometers an hour. Rear-end ones are conducted at 43 kilometers an hour. No structural damage is allowed forward of the rear suspension, and cars that fail don't race. There are other compulsory tests too, such as the intrusion into the cockpit and penetration of the outer skin, which must withstand loads of 15 tons. But what are the practical results of all this testing? How are the drivers protected?
Of course, as well as the car's back and nose, the side section is also an important structure that's got to be very sturdy in an accident. The governing body, the FIA, has therefore laid down some very strict rules for how the side section should behave in a crash. One of the new things to come from this is this cockpit edging. It protects the driver's head. With a side-on crash, impact energy in this area is absorbed. As a result of these things, although there have been some spectacular crashes in recent times, the drivers have usually escaped without serious injury.
The last Formula One driver to die in a race, Ayrton Senna, would probably have survived his crash 10 years ago if he'd been in a modern car. It was his death which promoted advances in driver safety. Safety standards in the sport are higher now than they've ever been, whether at the back or at the front of the car. Where once it was said that racing improves the breed and production cars followed competition developments, in safety issues, road and racing cars are now progressing in parallel. Road cars face increasingly demanding crash tests, but they can have electronic systems to help drivers avoid collisions in the first place, so-called active safety devices. Crumple zones, safety cells and airbags, passive safety, help occupants survive when the collision occurs.
The most important thing needed for good passenger protection is a sturdy passenger cell, guaranteeing that occupants have enough room to survive. Secondly, deceleration forces in a crash should be kept to a minimum. This requires adequately long zones at both front and rear, which are programmed to crumple. And thirdly, safety belts and airbags must ensure that passengers are slowed down along with the vehicle and that they don't hit anything hard inside the car unrestrained without benefiting from the crumple zones.
At least in a Formula One car, the driver is securely strapped into a seat that's made to fit only him. There are no loose objects or bags of shopping in his cockpit, and research and development into safety continues on the track and on the road. How do the teams keep the drivers on the track as they scream around at high speeds? Behind each of the 20 cars on the grid is a small army of technicians and engineers, all working towards beating the other 19.
Since Barcelona 3 years ago to the current race of Barcelona, we changed several parts of the electronic system. And in particular, we developed a lot some of the function like the traction control, the gear shift, the differential, in order to improve the performance of the car inside the regulation. Of course, the driver has an help in this kind of development, because a better traction control, for example, means that the driver can be more confident that the car stay on the circuit as he like, in particular in a heavy condition like rain or with not a lot of grip. The other thing is the steering wheel, that of course is useful for the drivers not only to drive the car but also to tune all this kind of device, and this is a big help for him.
Ferrari did something unusual at Barcelona. Rubens Barrichello started the race with much more fuel on board than teammate Michael Schumacher, and only stopped twice to his 3 pit stops. In qualifying, Michael grabbed pole position, but Rubens was heavy and down in 5th. They ended the race 1st and 2nd, despite their different strategies. Even in testing, the team ran cars at different tracks to get as much data as possible, but Rubens did get 2 days off for his wife Silvana's birthday. So far, it's all going according to plan. Michael has a 100% hit rate, but Jenson Button's impressive run of podiums dropped a lap behind in Barcelona, although he stays 3rd. His great results have put BAR higher up in the manufacturer's title than they've ever been, but the team will need to fight to stay in the top 3. The Estoril circuit outside Lisbon in Portugal hosted the 2nd round of the 2004 DTM Championships. Audi's Matthias Ekstrom made a perfect start from pole position to lead Britain's Gary Paffett. Tom Christensen passed Opel's Timo Scheider for 3rd at the first corner, but was shuffled wide on the exit and dropped to 5th, behind Dutchman Christian Albers. In the middle of the field, a great duel was taking place between ex-Formula One drivers Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Jean Alesi. Neither would give way, but kept it clean, and Frentzen kept pulling the short straw. At the front of the pack, another battle was raging between Paffett and Ekstrom. But while they were worrying about each other, Christian Albers ambushed both of them, lunging to the outside and braking on the clean part of the track. Paffett and Ekstrom continued their bumper-to-bumper battle, despite pit stops, for 2nd and 3rd place. Ekstrom even managed to battle for supremacy with Albers until they crossed the line. Further back, Frentzen continued to lose the battle with Alesi, but in only his 2nd DTM race managed to finish 12th. Alesi came 7th. At the front, Albers took the victory, but it wasn't until the checkered flag that he realized that he had the edge on Ekstrom.
Yeah, that was the only chance, and I was really close behind him, and I thought, you know, when I don't do it now, it will never be happen, and I think I would lose too much time in the race because my car was not so great, and so I thought, okay, this was the straight, and the straight I'm the whole weekend already good with braking there in the first corner, so I thought, yeah, let's try because I don't have anything to lose.
Albers the winner then from Ekstrom and his Audi teammate Martin Tomzik of Germany in 3rd. Fabrizio Del Monte started the first European F3000 race of the season from pole position at the Brno track. The Italian made a fast start and was seconds ahead of the field by the first corner. He was pulling away from Nicky Pastorelli of the Netherlands and Norbert Seidler of Austria when the safety car came out. Thai driver Tor Graves had spun off into the gravel on lap 3 and Marshals had to move his car. With the safety car on the track, the field bunched up again behind the runaway leader. At the rolling restart, Del Monte still led, but Pastorelli was closer to the leader, with Seidler trying to get by. Eventually, the Austrian drew level with Pastorelli and passed him to take 2nd place. Cristiano Rocca found a way past Sven Heidfeld, younger brother of Jordan Formula One driver Nick Heidfeld. The younger Heidfeld would eventually finish 8th. Matthias Lauda, one of the sons of Austrian airline owner and 3 times Formula One world champion Niki Lauda, pulled off with a flat tyre after 21 laps. The leading drivers maintained their positions until heavy rain started falling and the race was stopped 3 laps early on lap 25. Austrian Norbert Seidler was running second and ended up nearly 16 seconds behind Del Monte. The 9-race Euro F3000 series continues at Estoril in Portugal and also visits Spain, Italy, Belgium, Britain, France, Italy and Dubai, even though it's hardly in Europe. The season champion gets a super license which qualifies him for Formula One and a test drive for the Formula One team. In the Battle of the Tin Tops, the BMW versus Alfa Romeo struggle continued at the 3rd round of the Euro Touring Car Series at Magny-Cours in France. Brothers Dirk and Jörg Müller led off the grid for the first race. Into the crowded second corner, Seat driver Frank Diefenbacher has to run off the track to avoid even more panel damage. Behind the 2 Müllers, the Alfa Romeos were once again running like a train together, scrapping among themselves as they chased the BMWs. However, Antonio Garcia's BMW managed to split them in the closing laps of the race. 22-year-old Frank Diefenbacher was on the comeback trail, battling and failing to get his battle-scarred Seat Toledo past Garcia. The brothers led comfortably until Dirk dived through on the inside late in the 12-lap race to lead to the flag. Jörg was handicapped with 10 kilos of ballast because he'd won the previous race. Farfus finished 3rd, Garcia 4th, and the squabbling Gabriele Tarquini and Fabrizio Giovanardi, both of them carrying 40 kilos of ballast, came 5th and 6th. In the second race, according to the rules, the first 8 finishers lined up in reverse order in the grid. So it was Andy Priaulx's BMW, after finishing 8th in the first race, that led into the first corner. Jordi Genet in a Seat was second, but didn't stay there for long. Tarquini tried to push through and took out Dirk Müller and Garcia. Tarquini continued, Müller was delayed and Garcia retired. Priaulx led from Tarquini, Augusto Farfus and Fabrizio Giovanardi in the Alphas with Jörg Müller's BMW behind. After closing the gap steadily, Müller managed to outwit Giovanardi into outbraking himself in the closing laps and grabbed 4th place. However, the German nearly fooled himself on the final lap when he ran off the track, but managed to return without losing a place and follow the leaders home: Andy Priaulx, Gabriele Tarquini and Augusto Farfus. Tarquini leads the championship with 40 points from Jörg Müller on 35 and Dirk Müller on 34. BMW leads the manufacturers' table by 2 points with 80 to Alfa Romeo's 78. It was a blisteringly hot day in Southern California for the start of race 10 out of 36. First-timer Kasey Kahne set pole position at nearly 187 miles an hour. Early in the race, on lap 23, Stanton Barrett caused the first caution period of the event when he lost control of his car and hit the outside wall head-on. On the 58th lap, Kurt Busch also hit the outside wall, and as he slid back down across the track, Rusty Wallace slammed into him. The collision badly damaged Wallace's car. The replay from the camera inside Wallace's car showed that inexplicably the experienced driver didn't lift off. He just drove straight in. Jeff Green's race was over when his engine let go on lap 148, and the heat would foil many plans as fuel consumption soared. Green had qualified 3rd fastest, less than 0.2 of a second off Kahne's pace. Former champ Jeff Gordon took the lead late in the race, relegating Kasey Kahne. Just 2 laps from the finish, several drivers, including Kahne, Bobby Labonte and Jeremy Mayfield, had to dive into the pits for a splash of fuel to reach the line. A week after beating favourite Dale Earnhardt at Talladega, Gordon claimed his 3rd win in 8 tries on the 2-mile Fontana Oval and is the only NASCAR driver with more than 1 win there. It was the 66th victory of Gordon's career and the 13th time he's won back-to-back races. Gordon beat Jimmy Johnson's car across the line by nearly 13 seconds, about a third of a lap. Same sort of cars, but on the other side of the Atlantic, the Days of Thunder season got underway in spectacular fashion, with the first of several crashes taking place almost before the first lap had been completed. Rob Speake, the fastest man in the warm-up session, was involved in a four-car incident that featured synchronized spinning and ruined any chance of a win. Ollie Payne and John Mickle came together on lap 54, pitching both drivers into the wall and collecting Ireland's Malcolm Clean in the process. And he was hit by Steve Hobday, the 2003 Corgi UK Legends Championship runner-up. Anthony Swan's Chevrolet was another victim of the confusion. The race was red-flagged 6 laps from the finish, and Colin White the winner. The second race was tame by comparison, but purists enjoyed the race-long tussle between Swan and White, the latter finally gaining a lead with just 3 laps to go. White hung on, and the 47-year-old guided his Chevrolet over the finish line for his second win of the day. Just 1/10 of a second ahead of the local favourite. Ben Collins, the 2003 Days of Thunder champion, finished third. White collected 365 championship points. Swan lies second with 335, followed by Steve Hodgson with 330. The next 2 rounds on the schedule take place at the same track in the first week of June. This, the Midland Hotel, is significant in that 2 famous names in motoring first met here just over 100 years ago. The Honourable Charles Rolls met Mr. Henry Royce, and so was born the best motor car in the world, Rolls-Royce. Royce, seen here in his early 10-horsepower car, ran a successful electrical engineering business before meeting Rolls, who was a keen aviator, starting off in a hot air balloon before taking the controls of a Wright Flyer aircraft, in which he was killed in 1910. They met on May the 4th, 1904, and the company was formed 2 years later. The 4050 6-cylinder car became famous as the Silver Ghost, and this same car is a priceless part of motoring history. Around the world, more than 60% of all the Rolls-Royces ever built are still running, and they've been the stars of motoring gatherings from the earliest days. During the 1920s, the English works built powerful supercharged engines which were used to set world records on land, water and in the air, by heroes like Sir Malcolm Campbell and Sir Henry Seagrave. The engines powered the Supermarines, which won the Schneider Seaplane Trophy in 1927, 29 and 1931. The race saw speeds rise from 150 miles an hour in 1918 to over 400 miles an hour in 1931, and gave birth to the Spitfire. Rolls-Royce Merlin engines powered the nimble aircraft which fought and ultimately won the Battle of Britain in the skies of 1940. Prompting Winston Churchill's famous, "Never before has so much been owed by so many to so few" speech. Running 4 Merlins, the Avro Lancaster bomber reached 287 miles an hour, carrying 8 tons of bombs. Rolls-Royce also acquired Bentley, and the 2 famous names received the same loving attention. Rolls-Royce Motor Cars was sold to BMW in 1988, and Bentley is now owned by Volkswagen, ironically both German companies. BMW have revitalized the famous brand, building a new factory, introducing new technology and a new model, but retaining the superior luxury and handcrafted excellence, and continuing the tradition of experimental models like the 100EX. The aviation and marine engine building company is quite separate to the famous car maker, but both share Henry Royce's attitude to engineering excellence. The Royal Air Force Red Arrow's display team aircraft are powered by Rolls-Royce engines. Rolls-Royce also works with other manufacturers. Some helicopter engines are developed with Turbomeca of France. And this is where the biggest Rolls-Royce engine of all gets to work.
In the last 20 years, it's quadrupled its share of the civil engine business. It's become the world's largest marine propulsion company. It's a very, very big player in defence aviation, and it's in the oil, gas and power industry. And it's become a truly global power systems company.
But for most people, Rolls-Royce and their purring engines are just the best motor cars in the world. New York's Rockefeller Center is no stranger to celebrities and red carpets, but this was a special display. A rare 1947 Ferrari Spider Corsa, the oldest sports racing Ferrari in the world, is on exhibit prior to going on auction in California in August.
There's a lot of interest in this car. It's because of its significance and the fact that it's the one and only, we have a lot of interest from collectors that are looking to round out their collection to be able to say they own the first Ferrari built.
Over the decades, the Spider Corsa has won many races, such as the glamorous Monte Carlo Grand Prix, in the hands of racing heroes like Juan Manuel Fangio and Stirling Moss. The car has been restored to pristine condition, despite having participated in many races.
A bullet with fenders, yeah, that's a great description. You know, this car was capable of 125 miles an hour in its day, and when you think of 1947 and some of the interesting designs that were on the road, this car was quite revolutionary in its concept and design. A lot of styling cues from the aviation world carried into this car. It was quite ahead of its day.
The auction coincides with the 50th anniversary of Ferrari's presence in North America. Apart from being one of the first Ferraris ever made, the Spider Corsa has many unusual features. The car was owned by retired investment broker David Sidorick of Beverly Hills, the keeper, with his wife and co-driver Ginny, of a collection of over 20 exotic cars.
I would say this is the most significant Ferrari ever built, being the first one. So we expect this car, we have it valued at $950 to $1.35 million. So, and we expect to do well with it. It's a very significant car.
Other rare and historic examples of the marque include the very first Ferrari 250 GTO to go to America, driven in the 1962 Sebring 12-hour race by Hill and Gendebien, finishing second overall. Another is the 1951 Superleggera Coupe, given by Enzo Ferrari himself to racing driver Mike Hawthorne to get to and from Grand Prix races. The Motocross World Championship moved to Tuchendal in Germany for the 5th round of 2004. Brian Jorgensen was returning to the motocross circuit after an operation on his hand, which forced him to miss the previous round at Valkenswaard in the Netherlands. In the first of the MX1 races on Saturday, the Dane swept into the lead on his Honda on the first lap and held his advantage from then onwards to secure the first Grand Prix win of his career. Belgian Cedric Malot passed championship leader Stefan Everts early in the race and pushed Jorgensen hard over the closing laps. Jorgensen held on to win, though, just under 4.5 seconds in front of Malot. Everts was third, a further 5.5 seconds back. The next day, the second 25-lap moto of the weekend followed a similar pattern. Jorgensen swept straight into the lead once again and stayed there all the way through to the finish for the second win of his career just one day after the first. Kenneth Gunderson, Stefan Everts and Joel Smets had a great battle for second place. Everts edged it and was less than half a second behind Jorgensen at the finish. Smets was third after Gunderson crashed on the 17th lap. The next stop in the Motocross World Championship is the Grand Prix of Benelux at Lichtenvoorde in Holland. Multiple world champion Everts still leads the overall standings, 30 points clear of Yamaha teammate Malot, and the Honda team slipped behind Ramon's KTM. So, whether you're testing the ultimate racer, leading the pack, or driving a priceless classic, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.